Okay, so today we're going to see how we can validate the response body. Sometimes when you send a request, we'll get some response in JSON format, or sometimes you may get in XML format, right? So we should be able to validate different things in the response, not only status code and headers. Along with that, we can also validate the data. Actually, what kind of data we are getting in the response. So today we'll see how we can validate the response data, and in JSON as well as in XML response. Okay, so for that we have a special classes are available, and like JSON path, JSON XML path. So we have to add all those dependencies. Okay, so in our form.xml, and if I just look at, we already added all required dependencies related to JSON path and XML path and so on. And you can just look at here. So these are the different dependencies we have added: JSON Schema Validator, Script Java APIs, TestNG, JSON. Okay, and XML not required. XML some by default will come along with the RestAssured, so we can still validate it. Later, if you need any dependencies, we will try to add. Okay, so now let us see the first example. Yeah, XML validator is not uploaded. That is not required for now. XML validator and JSON schema validator is required when you validate the JSON schema and XML schema. So here we are not going to validate the schema. So that is a different thing. We are going to validate the response data, not a schema. Schema is a different, data is a different. Response data is a different. Okay. So now let's see how we can validate the response, JSON response. Right. So for that, I'm going to start my API. I have something called stores API. I'll start that. Go to automation practice, JSON file. So here I'm opening my command prompt, and I have a store.json. This is the JSON file which contains some data. So I want to run the API by using JSON server command. So I will share this store.json file. You can get it and you can just run by using JSON server command. So I say JSON server, then store.json. So this will start running our API. Now, when you ping this URL, this will give you all the books which are available on my file or database. So you can just browse this on the Postman tool also, or else you can just browse this on any browser. So this will give you data in the JSON format. So let me show you. You can post this as a GET request in the Postman also. So now you can see this is the data. This is the response we got. This is purely JSON format. Okay. So now we'll see how we can validate the response, JSON response through our RestAssured code. Okay. So let's go to our project and create new package. Say dev4. Okay. So inside this, I'm creating a new class. I'll name it as Parsing JSON Response. Basically, we call it as a parsing. Parsing is nothing but each and every field data we will able to parse and we will able to validate. Okay, so parsing JSON response data. And I'm not talking about schema validation. Schema validation is different. So that we will see in the next sessions. And here we are validating the response data. Okay. So parsing JSON response data, and click on the finish. Okay. So in this parsing JSON response data. So here we have to create something called request, and then when, then, and everything is same. So let me first create TestNG method, void test JSON response. Okay, so I'll say it is a test annotation, priority equal to 1. So then we have to import this test annotation. And now in the response, normally what we have done is earlier in the then section, we have put some assertions, right? So based on the assertion, we have validated, including status code, header, body, and everything. That is a one way to do this. But apart from this, we do other type of validations sometimes. Okay, let me show you multiple approaches here. So the approach one. So in this, what we will do is, we will first write given section, given, and then given, and then. So three sections. In the given section, do we need to give anything? So prerequisites, right? Before that, let me import the static packages. Let me just get the static packages, and then I'll try to import them. Okay. So the first part, in the given session, we have to write something called content type. So what is the content type we are sending? So I say content type. Still not recognizing the methods. Are we missing any static import? Okay. Okay, right. So in the given section, we can specify the what kind of content we are sending, right? What kind of content we are getting. So that information we can specify in the given session. And especially we are sending and receiving the JSON. So better to keep that option, better to keep that method in the given section. So dot content type, and here content type is JSON, content type dot JSON. Okay, so this will this is a content type. So what exactly the content type? And in the when section, we have to say the URL. So get and URL we have to specify. So this is the URL. So let me just copy this. Okay, so this is a get request, and once you send this request, we will get some response. So in the then section, normally what you will do, we will put all assertions here. So if you want to verify status code, I can say status code is let's say 200. And after that, if you want to verify the header, so you can just take header here, and in header we are expecting something called content -type. This is the name of the header, and the value which we are expecting from the header, we can just paste it over here. So this is the value we are expecting from the header, and along with them we can also verify the response. So what kind of response we have to verify? So if I just look at this, let me open the Postman. So here JSON path is most important. So because based on the JSON path, by writing proper JSON path, we can extract the data from the response. Okay, so let me open another tab. So I'm just passing the same. Just a second. Okay, so I'll pass the same URL and look at let's see what is the response it will give you. And this is a JSON response. So in this JSON response, we can validate something. Let's say okay. So in the JSON response, I want to validate some field like author name or category, price, title. There are multiple things are there. So we need to understand this JSON first of all. And the JSON file will always start with the curly brace. And inside this, there is a book, and which is basically JSON array. In JSON also, we have an array concept. So this bracket is representing an array. From here to here, this is completely one array. So in this array, this is one record. This is a 0 element. This is a 1 element. This is a second element. And every element is a JSON object. Just look at here. This is other category. Key value pairs are there. If you have only one key value pair, that is a field. And here multiple key value pairs are included in one curly brace. So this is one JSON object. This is another object. This is another object. So these are the three important things we need to identify. And accordingly, we can write a JSON path to extract the specific data. So for example, I want to verify, okay, I want to verify in this array, and in this last record, the title is something is here. So I want to check this particular title is correct or not. According to my expectation, this title of the book is correct or not. But there is multiple title fields are there in others data. You can just look at here, the first field, second, third field also, the titles are there. But I want to verify the title of the fourth element, which is there in the JSON array. So how we can write the JSON path for this? So simply we can use the tools. If it is small JSON, we can easily identify because we can directly go to this book array and specify the index. This is 0, 1, 2, and this is a third. So book of 3 and dot, and we can directly say title. But if you have a complex JSON, and sometimes you may have array contains another array contains another object, object contains another object. There are multiple things are involved in this JSON format. So in that case, it is difficult to find out the specific fields. So in that case, what we will do is we will take the help of tools, and we will able to get the JSON path properly. So what I will do is just copy this response and go to JSON Path Finder, JSONPathfinder.com. So here you can just paste the JSON text. Okay, now you have pasted all the text. Now I want to find out this one, JSON path for this particular element. So go here, expand. It is same thing. It is showing in the hierarchy mode. You can see here all the tags it is showing. So in this, where exactly our message is expected, here we are expecting. So select this. As soon as you selected this, it is generated one JSON path. So from the book, we have to start. This X we have to ignore. And from here, we have to start. So this is our JSON path, which is exactly representing this element. So now copy this JSON path, and then we can put the validation here. So here what you can say dot body, and here we have to pass two parameters. One is what we are expecting. So this is the JSON path. In the JSON path, what is the value we are expecting? That we have to specify as a second parameter along with the equal to method. Equal to. Okay, so we have to write something here. So equal to, and what is the value we are expecting here? So we are expecting this is the value. So the whole thing is depends on the JSON path, how we have written the JSON path. So that will get the value of the specific field. Okay, so once it is done, then you can end up the, like this, you can verify all other fields also. I have just verified only one field and value. You can also write multiple bodies. You can write multiple bodies like this, and multiple fields you can validate. But you have to end the entire statement at the last. So semicolon should come at the last statement. So this is the normal way we can do validations. If you have a small fields, just one or two fields, and status code, if you want to validate, then you can do like this. And this is approach is recommended. So let's try to execute now. Run as test-ng test. So printing log is optional. If you want to see the response in the console window, you can just say log.all. Otherwise, no problem. That's not a mandatory method every time. Okay. So now it is got passed. So my test is got passed here. Okay. So this is a normal way we can validate a specific field from the JSON. Okay. So even if you have a huge data, so if you want to validate something, right? So you can just get the JSON path and you can validate the field. I will show you another approaches also. Just hold on for a few seconds. I will show you another approaches, then ask the questions. Okay, so this is a one way. So if you have a small JSON file, right? So if you have a small data set, and if you want to validate something in the JSON, so then you can just go with this simple approach. And sometimes you may have so much of XML, very big XML, and you have lots of data in that. Okay, and then you want to validate multiple things and you want to read the data. Sometimes you have to traverse each and every field in the response, and you have to traverse each and every field, you have to get it. And sometimes your data is present on the JSON file or not, you want to verify. So in that case, what we can do is, first of all, we have to capture the entire response data in a variable. And then we can do some additional validations. Okay, so suppose here we are not returning anything actually. So we are, whatever response we are getting, on top of response, we have added some validations here. Right. So, but if you want to do more validations, right, more effective way, or if you want to do a lot of other things, we have to get the response in a variable. Okay, we have to capture entire response body in the variable, and then we will try to apply some more methods. Okay, so let me show you that approach. Okay, let me just comment this one. Okay, so I just commented this. Now let me show you a different thing. Approach number 2. Okay, so in this, what we will do is we will capture the entire response into a variable, a separate variable. We will create response variable, and we will hold entire response into that variable. Then we will do some further operations. Okay, so for example, let's say I'm writing something called given, and okay, so given, and inside the given, I put content type. So content type is what? Content type.json. And when, and here I'm sending the request. This is a uppercase character. Okay, so now in this when section, I'm just copying the same request and get request. So this time I'll end the statement here, so that I want to capture the response in a specific variable, right? So whatever the response we are getting from the get, I can store that in a variable. So here I will define one variable. So what is the type of the variable is response. So the type of the variable is what? Response. Let's create one variable called res. Okay, so now the res is a variable which will hold the response, which can hold the entire response which is written by the get request, right? So once you get a response, so we can also add validations, this type of validations, by using this response variable also. So instead of adding these assertions inside the then section, what we can do is we can capture the entire response in a variable, and we can add assertions on this variable. So this time we are using test-ng assertions. Actually, what are assertions we are using here? So these assertions comes from the matchers, hrmcrest.matchers package. But if you get the response in this variable, and if you want to do assertions based on this response, then we will use something called test-ng assertions here. Okay, see how we can do the validations by using this response. So here I want to validate the status code first. So from this response, I want to capture the status code, and then I want to validate it. So for that, what you can do is from the response, res dot direct method is there. Get body, get content type, get cookie, get cookies. All these methods are available. So by using these methods, we can capture the data from the response. We can capture the data from the response. Okay, and that we can validate. So for now, I'm just going to capture the status code. res dot get status code. Okay, get the status code. And this status code should be equal to 200. That's a validation I want to do. So here I'm adding test.ng assertion. Assert dot assert equals, and here I'm saying res dot get status code. And what is the value we're expecting? You can specify here. So I'm expecting 200. I'm expecting 200. It should be number. So this is one validation point. This is validation one. So if you are getting the response in a variable, on top of the variable or on top of the response, if you want to do validations, you can write like this. This is one approach and this is another approach. And here we are not getting a response in any other variable. We are not storing the response. So we can do very minimal validations, or it's very limited. But if you get the response in a variable, we can do more number of validations. There is a more number of validations possibilities there. So here I verify the status code by using assertion. From this response, we can capture the status code, get status code, and comparing with our expected status code. This is a validation one. Similarly, we can also verify the header, cookies, all the stuff we can verify. Suppose I want to verify the header from the response and get the header. So you can choose header method, header. And what is the header you want to verify? So I want to verify the content type. And what is the value you are expecting? Content type is application/JSON. So this we can keep inside the one more assertion. I say assert dot assert equals res dot header. So this will get the value of header, which is content type, and that we are comparing with our own header. So if I just go back to your Postman in header section, which will return some header content type. This is the one we want to validate. This is our expected. This is another validation point. So this is another validation. So just like previously status code header we validated, same thing we have repeated here. But this time we have used response variable. Okay. But apart from this, what else additional assertions we can add from the response? Okay, here also we will use JSON path as usual. So let me show you how to use JSON path. Again, same thing. So whatever the JSON path we have used to capture the data, same kind of JSON path we will try to use, but we will use the different methods here. So for example, from the response, I want to capture the body. Okay, response itself is a body. So from that, we want to capture specific field. Okay, so we have to capture specific field. For that, what you can do is we have a method called JSON Path. This method we have to use. JSON Path dot get method we have to use. Get specific field we have to specify. So which field you want to get from the JSON path? That is a JSON path field we have to say. What is that? Book of 3 dot title. Okay, this is a field I want to extract. So res.jsonpath.get, and this is the field. Means what? JSON path. Right. So when you end the statement here, this get method will return the value in the object format. So if the value is in object format, we can't do any other validations because we want exactly primitive value, either string or integer, double, whatever. So what we have to do is, after capturing the value from this field, we have to convert that into string format. For that, we can use toString method. This is a complete statement. So from the response, we are extracting this value by using JSON path method. res.jsonpath.get of the JSON path .toString. This will basically convert the value in the string format. Otherwise, it will be in the object format. So this will return the entire value, and that I can store in a variable. I'll say book name. So this book name is what? A string type of variable. So basically here we are converting the data into the string format. Okay, now we got the book name. So once you got the book name, we can do validation on this, right? By using assertion, we can do validation. Assert dot assert equals and the book name, whatever I have captured, should be equal to what? This one. So this is our book name we are expecting. So that you can specify. So this is the way we can do validations if you return the response and store it in some variable. And here we don't need to use then section because we are not putting any validations here. So we are keeping the validations on top of response variable. So if you don't want to capture the response in any other variable, so then you can use then, and here you can put all the validations. But as I said, very minimal validations are supported in this case. You can directly verify some fields. But if you want to traverse through the entire JSON response, and if you want to print all the values, or if you want to capture all the values, and if you want to write some looping conditions, they are not possible. So for that reason, we are going to get the response in a variable. And even though if you are getting the response in the variable, still we will able to validate these things. Apart from this, what else we can validate? I will show you now. Okay, so these are the validation we already done, right? In the previous approach also we have done. Same thing we repeated here. Apart from this, we can also do other type of validations. Now let me show you what are all other type of validations we can do that. So just like this status code, you can validate anything, header, cookies, everything you will able to validate on top of this response. Okay, so let me just try to execute till here. So the validation order is not important because once you get a response, you can validate status code, then body and the content type, or else first you can verify the header, body, then status code. Anything is fine because you are doing validations on the response first. Okay, so now everything is got passed. So once you get a response, you can do these validations in whichever order you want. So you can put the status code at the end also, no problem. Okay, so order is not important. So in whichever order you want to put assertions, you can keep add those assertions. Okay, so this is one more approach. We have seen two different approaches. The first approach is what? We can directly add validations in the then section. Second approach is what? We can get the response in a variable and then we will add the validations. We got the data from the response, status code, header, body, and everything. And then we have done the assertion. So this is another way of doing. But which one is having more advantages? Second one is having more advantages because once you have a response in this variable, we can also do some additional validations. Okay, so we can also verify the response body in detail. We can traverse through entire response body. Even if you have a complex JSON, this approach will be very, very useful. Okay, don't go with this approach. And this is a most following approach. Now I'll show you a few more examples how we can validate the body. So till here, everyone is clear so far. So there are two approaches I have told you, without capturing the response and with capturing the response. So let me show you a few more things, what else we can do on this response data. So for that, I have copied this. Okay, let me just comment this test. And here I will give a different name to this. I say priority 2 and test JSON response body data. Okay, I just given the different name. So the first one is what? We are verifying the JSON response, which includes status code. Some field is also verified. Now we are going to verify a few more things. So now go to here. So in this, we are going to use second approach, not the first approach. Directly go here. So I'm sending the same request again, and I'm saving the response in this variable. Right. So we have done these validations. These are the common validations. Most of the times we do it. Apart from this, what else we can do is I will show you. So I will also comment them for now. Okay. So for example, my requirement is I have multiple books here in my JSON response. I have a multiple books. So I want to read, I want to capture books, like what are all books are available. Let's say this is the one book, this another book, this another book. So total, there are different objects are there. In this JSON array, there are total number of objects are there. Different objects are there. From each object, I want to capture the title. So from each object, I want to capture the title. From each object, I want to capture the titles. And then I want to print those titles. Okay, I want to print those titles. That first we will achieve that. So once you are able to capture all the titles of every book, then we will check a particular book title is available or not, or particular thing is available in that JSON or not. We can check. It's basically searching the element or searching the option in the JSON. Okay, so here you can avoid the order. So sometime back somebody asked us some question. Suppose if this data is displayed in the different order, in that case, JSON path won't work. But how we can validate? Suppose let us say here, the Lord of the Rings. So this particular title is displayed as a fourth object, right? Suppose this object is displayed in the first place, right? But still this title is there, but my JSON path will fail. Why my JSON path will fail? Because I will specify the index. Let's say index book of 4 dot title, I'll specify it. So if this order is got changed, definitely my JSON path will fail, right? But if this particular object is displayed in the first position, still I want to verify that particular title. So in that case, what we will do, we will read all the fields first. Okay, whatever the fields are there, we have to read all the fields from the JSON. Then we can apply searching technique, whether my title of the book is present or not. So this is the way we can traverse through the JSON format of response, and then we can validate a particular field value wherever it is. Even though order is got changed, still we'll able to validate that. Okay, so this is the technique we have to use. So step one, what we will do is, let us try to read all the titles. Whatever titles are there in my response, let us try to read all those titles. Okay. So for that, what we will do is, we have to first, we already captured the response, right? So we already captured the response in this variable. So now here we have to use something called JSON Object class. We have a special class is available, JSON Object class. So to traverse or to parse the entire JSON response, we have to use something, a different class called JSON Object class. The class name is what? JSON Object class. This is a predefined class. And related dependency we have to add. So we already added that. Let's just go back to the pom.xml. Okay, so we already added JSON related dependencies. Okay, you can just look at this one. So this one, this dependency anyway it is there, and JSON path dependency also there. So these two are JSON related dependencies. Okay, let's keep them. So now what we need to do is, first of all, we already captured the response in this variable. The response is ready. Now here we have to create an object of JSON Object class. Okay, so how we can do that? I can say JSON Object JO. I'm taking one variable called JO equal to new JSON object. Right. So this is a way we can just create an object. Just import this JSON object from org.json package. So now we have imported. So whenever you create a JSON object class object, this will take one parameter. So what is the parameter? We have to convert this entire response, because this response is in object here response format. You can see get method will return the response in the response format. So we have to convert this response into string format. Then we can pass into the JSON object. That's the first step. So we cannot directly pass this response here. Here we cannot pass. So why we have to pass this response here? Because we want to convert this entire response as a JSON object. So this is everything here. If I just come here, this entire thing is considered as a JSON object. This is a completely one JSON object. And internally we have a JSON array. Internally we have again few more JSON objects. So whenever you got a response here, that is in response type. The type of the response is what? Response. So if you want to traverse through the JSON response, we have to convert that into string first. Then we have to pass it into JSON object class. So this is basically converting the response from response type to JSON object type. That is a concept. So for that, we cannot directly pass the response here. Instead, we have to convert this response into string format, and then we can pass. So here I can say response dot to string. So this particular method will convert the response into response JSON object. Okay, so here what we are doing basically converting response, right? Converting response to JSON object type. JSON object type. So now currently our response is there in the JSON object type. So once you have an object, we can do anything. So now what is my objective here? I want to print book titles. I want to print the titles of all the books which are available in this JSON. So for that, what we can do is we no need to write index here. Okay. So what we can do is we have to write one for loop. So here we don't use specific path or index, so that wherever the values are there in my JSON, we can still read those values. So now here I'll start from the 0, because here where exactly the values are present in my JSON, in the JSON array. Book is what? Book is my JSON array. Remember that book is my JSON array. In this JSON array, this is my 0 field, this is the first field, second field, and the third field. So different fields are there. So book is what? JSON array. And where this JSON array is present? Inside the JSON object. So the whole response is one JSON object. Inside the object, book is JSON array. And this JSON array, we have a multiple sub objects. These are again objects. So what we have to do is we have to start from 0, because array index will start from 0. Int I equal to 0 and I less than how many times we have to repeat? Depends upon the number of objects in the book array. How many are there? 1, 2, 3, 4 are there. Tomorrow you may increase, or tomorrow it may be decrease. We don't know exact count. So how we can dynamically get the length of this array? So to get the length of array dynamically in Java, we have a method called length. We have a keyword called array name dot length keyword that will give you the size of an array. But here, what we have in JSON, JO dot JSON object dot, we have a method called get JSON array. Get JSON array. What is JO here? JO is a JSON object, which is captured the entire response in the JSON object format. From that JO, I'm getting the array. Which array we want to get here? What is the name of the array? Book. Book is my array that I can specify. Case sensitive. Okay, so book is an array, and this particular method JO dot get JSON array of book. This will get the entire array from the response. The entire array elements will be written, all the elements. Now I want to find how many are there. So simply you can call dot length method, length. So this will exactly give you how many number of objects or values are there in JSON array. Then I++, I'll increment every time 1. Now come to the body. So here we have to extract titles of every book. Titles of every book. Then I want to print them in my console window. So let me just try to write a logic. So here we have a JSON object, JO dot. Inside the JSON object, what we have? JSON array. From the JSON array, we have to extract the data. So use this method, get JSON array. Inside the JSON array, you may have multiple JSON arrays sometimes. So we have to exactly specify from which JSON array you want to extract the data. What is the name of the array? Again, book. Book is my JSON array. From this, inside the book array, again, we have multiple objects. You can see inside the book array, we have this object, this one is there, this one. So multiple objects are there. Now, what is my requirement? I want to capture this title from every object. Inside the JSON array, I want to capture the titles from every object. So how we can representing this object? This is a 0 object. This is the first object. This second object, third object. By using index, we can representing the particular object in the array. So here I is representing the index. So JSON object dot get JSON array of a book. From this book, which object we want to extract? First one, second, third, and fourth. But we can't hard code those values. Instead of that, what we can do? Use get JSON object. Get a JSON object, because inside this array, everything is an object. This is one element, which is an object. This is one element. This is also an object. This is another element, which is also object. So these objects I'm representing by using index here. So JSON array, first we open the JSON object, which is representing the whole response. In that, we have to go to JSON array. In that JSON array, also we have a multiple JSON objects. So we are going to first 0 JSON object, I representing the 0. So it will go to first 0 element in the array. From that, we are going to get which value you want to get. We have to use get method. Get of field name, you have to specify. What is the field name? Titles I want to capture. So I can say simply title. Again, this get method will return the value in the form of object. So we have to convert that into string. So I say dot to string. This is the complete statement. So this will return the value of the title, book title, that I can store in a variable, book title. And what's the type of this variable is string. Now observe this. We are representing the index with the I. I is representing the index. We don't know how many objects are there in an array. So that dynamically I'm getting the size of an array here. Size of an array I'm getting here. So jo.get JSON array. So first we are going to JSON object that is representing entire JSON response. In that I'm going to JSON array. In that we have multiple JSON objects. We are extracting the 0 JSON object. From that we are extracting the title and then converting to the string. Is this statement clear to everyone? Because this is the main statement which we need to understand. Rest of the things are very easy to understand. So this is the main thing which we have to understand. So based on our response, we have to traverse. So the whole response is a JSON object. So JO, we are representing with a JO. Inside this, we have a JSON array. We have to capture the JSON array. So get a JSON array of a book. Inside the JSON array, we have a multiple object. This is one object, one element. This is one other object, another element. This another object, another element. So these objects we have to extract one by one. So get a JSON object of 1. I'm passing this index. In the first round of iteration, it will get the first object. Second round of iteration, it will get another object. Like this, every time when you're repeating this loop, a different object value you will get from the JSON. Dot get a title of toString. It is not that much confusion, guys. If you just understand clearly, let me just repeat once again. It's very, very simple. Let me just repeat once again. Okay, so this is my JSON response. I'll tell you how we can capture the values. So what is my requirement here? I want to capture the titles. I'm again repeating, guys. Please listen this carefully. Don't get bored, because this is very important to understand the statement. Rest of the things are depends on this. If you're not understood, again, it becomes very difficult. Okay. See, my requirement is what? I want to capture the titles. I want to capture the titles from each and every field, right? So here you can just look at it. From here to here, this is all one JSON object. The entire thing, like everything is a JSON object. This is a JSON object. We are representing with a JO. JO is a object of JSON object class. Okay. The whole response we are representing with the JO. Now inside this book is a JSON array. You can just look at this. This bracket is representing an array. In JSON, this bracket is representing an array. Array means what? Array means what? Which contains a multiple values. Array can store multiple values. And those values can be key value pairs. Those values can be objects, anything. So from here to here, this is an array. This is an array. And in this array, this is my first element. This is my second element. Third element, fourth element. 4 elements which we have in this array. And again, in every element, there are multiple key value pairs are there. So we can call this as a JSON object. This is also JSON object. This is also another JSON object. This is also JSON object. This is also JSON object. So now the whole response is one JSON object. Inside the JSON object, we have a JSON array. Inside the JSON array, what we have? Again, we have a JSON objects, multiple objects we have. So inside the JSON array, this is one object, this is another object, totally 4 objects are there. So how we are traversing here? First, we are getting the entire response into JSON object. From there, we are go to JSON array. And here we are specifying the name of the array also. And in this JSON array, again, we are navigating to each and every object by passing index number 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, and so on. So we are navigating to the first object. In the first object, we are extracting the title. In the first object, we are extracting the title. In the second object also, we are extracting the title. Third object, 4 object. In every object, we are extracting the title. So this is the actual navigation. So same thing I have mentioned in the code also. If I just look at here, first we are navigating to the JSON object. This JO is representing the entire response. Inside this, we are getting the JSON array. Inside this, we are getting the JSON object. Which object? There are 4 objects are there. Which object we are getting here? 0 object, first one. In that object, we have a title field. So that if you want to get the title field value, we have to use get method, get of title. So this will return the title of the book from the first object. From the first, this is 0 actually, 0 element. From the 0 element, it will capture the title. Suppose if you want to capture the price, so then you can get the price. Or if you want to capture the author name, then you can say author. So whichever field value you want to extract from this, you can just specify that here. This is a whole statement. Guys, understood now? So this is a hierarchy actually. If you understand the exact JSON, then you will be able to understand. So now we are getting the book title. Similarly, if you want to get other values, you can get it. So currently we are starting from 0. So this will give the book title of the first object. So immediately I'm trying to print here. So we can just print book title. Okay, so let us try to execute till here. And then let us try to understand. So whether it's printing all books or not from the JSON response. Okay, so let me just try to execute, because this loop repeat multiple times till all the objects are completed. Totally 4 objects are there. So we are expecting 4 book titles as an output. So let me execute. Okay, so somehow it is getting failed. Let's see why it is failed. So JSON object text must begin with 1 character to line. JSON response body data. Okay, just a second. Something went wrong. So are we giving correctly? HTTP localhost 3000 store. Content type is also correct. Okay, JSON object class we specify. So JSON object JO equal to new JSON object res dot toString. So this will convert to JSON object. And then we have written a loop I equal to 0, I less than JO dot get JSON array of book length. Okay, fine. And JSON array book dot get JSON object of I, get JSON object of I dot get title dot toString. Okay, fine. And then we are printing the book titles. Okay, I don't see any issue here. Let me just try to execute one more time. Yeah, you have to do some manual testing before that, right? So without manual testing, directly don't jump to automation. So we have to do some manual testing first. And then you will be able to do that. So have imported this package org.json.json object. Okay, yeah. So I don't see any issues. So let me just try to run one more time. So to do all these validations, first of all, you have to know what kind of response you are getting. And then you will be able to do that. Okay, so a JSON object test must be 1 cat 2 line. Something went wrong. Let me restart my JSON response once again. And then I'll do it. 1 second, guys. Okay, it should be title. Okay, correct. So the problem is we have not properly specified the content type actually. So previously also we have done some mistake, but it worked fine somehow here. So this content type.json is there, right? So we should not keep inside the double quotations. Okay, that's the first thing. And here also we have done the same mistake actually. So we should not put this content type in the content type.json when you specify in the given section. Okay, but when you are validating this as part of the assertion, we have to say like this content -type that will get the value from the header. Okay. So now same thing, it is repeated here. You can see I have removed the double quotations content type.json. And again, it is the same process. We have created JSON object. And from this object, we are getting the JSON array and finding the length. And accordingly, same JSON object, get the JSON array. And in the JSON array, we have a multiple objects. So capture the 0 object first and capture the title, convert that to string, then print it here. So if I don't convert that into string, what will happen is, if I just look at this get method, okay, let me remove the return type also. So in this statement, what happens here is, this will return an object. So when you put the get here, you can see here, object is a return type. Object is nothing but what? It can be any type. It can be any type. So title is basically in the string format. We are expecting in the string format. So that's the reason we are converting this into string format. If you want to compare with some other thing, so we need a string format. Object we can't compare. So that's the reason we have to use .toString. So this will convert this entire value in the string format. So here I can say book title. So this is the variable I can specify. I can store in this variable. And after that, I can directly print the book title here. So when you execute this, every time this index will keep changing. So how many objects are there in the JSON array, how all the objects will be repeated. From every object, it will return the title of the page. So not only title, if you want to extract other details like price, category, other, so you can also retrieve those details from the same JSON. Okay, so let me try to execute one more time. Okay, so now we got all the book names. So totally 4 objects are there. So from the 4 objects, we are getting the book names. So this is how we can just writing a loop statement, and then we can traverse throughout your JSON response. But what is an advantage of this? Why we can read the data from the JSON? So as I said earlier, suppose if the data is dynamically displaying or data is not displaying in the same order every time. In those cases, we can't verify the specific field in the specific position. For example, here, the title, if I capture this title, I can verify it is there in the 4th position, like it is index is 0, 1, right? So 2 and 3. So in the third object, we can find this title, exactly the same title. And if I write the JSON path directly, just like in the first example, if I write JSON path like this may not work because the same title will be there in some other object, right? Order may not be the same. So in those cases, this won't work. So this will definitely fail. So in that case, what you will do, we will have to read all the data, all the titles we have to first read, and then check that particular title is present in the JSON or not. Okay, so we can write a finding algorithm, searching algorithm, we can write. Searching technique, we can write. So by using the searching technique, we can find this particular title is present in the JSON or not. So that's how we can test if order is getting changed. So let me just try to write some piece of code here. So here we are getting the only titles, but this is not actual our object. We have to find particular book title is present or not. So for that, what we can do is I'll try to enhance this logic. So let me just comment this for now. Okay, so suppose I want to find specific book title is present in the JSON response or not. Here the position is not a matter. So wherever it is displayed, that's fine. But I want to just check the particular title is present in the JSON response or not. So for that, what you can do is here, instead of printing this book, we will compare this book title with our expected title by writing if condition. If book title dot equals, book title is a string, right? So then you can use equals method. Suppose if it is in object format, if you are not converting into toString here, that is still in object format. So if it is an object format, I can't compare that with any other object or any other value. So that is another reason to convert this into string format. Now, if it is in string format, we can compare that with our expected value. So in the equals, I can specify the name of the book exactly. So what is the name we are expecting? So that same name I can specify. So this is the book title I can specify. So if book title is equal to this one, what we should do now? What we should do? So because this condition is specified inside the loop, so it will repeat multiple times. So for that, what you can do is we will just create one Boolean variable. Boolean, let's say status equal to, let's make it as a false. Initial value is false. Now, as soon as you found a book here, as soon as you found the title in the JSON, so you can just make that status value is true. Okay, status value equal to true, and immediately come out from the for loop. Because if you don't come out from the for loop, then what happens here? Again, it will go up and get another object, and again, it will keep comparing with the rest of the values. So as soon as you found the value here, immediately make the status is equal to true, then come out from this entire for loop. But how we can verify it is available or not? So here we can write one assertion. When this status value becomes true, if book found, if the book title is available in the JSON response, then the status value becomes true. If the status value becomes true means what? The book title is found in the JSON response. Suppose if the book status is still or status is still in false or still in false, what does that mean? The book is not found in the JSON. So that we have to compare here with one more statement. It is simple searching algorithm, searching technique in Java sessions. We have discussed this searching string, searching number, so on, right? Same thing. If status value, okay, so if status value still equal to false means what? Not found, right? It is a not found. Here we have to say not found. So now we have to put one assertion, not like this. We have to put one assertion. So how to put the assertion instead of writing this if statement? If my status value equal to true means the title is found. If my status value equal to still false means what? Title is not found, right? So if the title is available, somehow this status will become true. If the title is not matching with any of the titles, still our status value is false. So here how we can put this assertion is we can just write assertion like this. Assert equals status should be true. We are expecting true. That means what? The title is found in the JSON. The title is found in the JSON. So assert equals status true. Status value we are expecting true. If it is expecting true means element found or the title is found in the JSON. And if the title is not found in the JSON, this assertion will make my test method failed. So this is how we can write a simple logic to check that particular title is present in the JSON response or not. So let me try to execute this logic. Okay, so now it is executed and it got passed. Okay, let me just give a different title and then check. So I'm just giving some different title. I'll say 1, 2, 3. And this book is not available. So our search should fail. Okay, so now it is getting failed. So expected is true, but found false. So status value we are expecting true, but it is false means the book name is not found in the JSON response. So this is how we can traverse throughout the JSON response and we can find out whatever we required. So here we are not specifying any position. We are not using any JSON path, right? So the value can be anywhere. It can be in the first object, second object, third object, in whichever order they have displayed. It is still fine. it will go and find that particular value in the JSON. Okay, this is how we can write a simple logic. Now let me show you one more type of requirement. For example, I want to find out the total price of books. So here there is a price here, and this is the price, right? So I want to find out the total price of all the books, and that should be equal to some value. I'm expecting some value, total value. So I will add all the prices, and finally I will get the total price, and I'll compare my total price into my expected total price. Okay, like that also we can do some validation. So let me tell you how we can do it. So I comment this. Okay, let it be there, no problem. So I'll add one more validation. So this is the first validation. So finding the, or we can say search for title of the book in JSON. Now this is a validation, one type of validation. And let's do one more type of validation. Okay, so validate total price of books. Okay, so again, we have to write the same logic. So let's get this for loop. Okay, but we don't put any if conditions or anything, simple logic. First of all, we have to capture all the prices. We have to capture all the prices. So how to capture all the prices? Again, we have to go to JSON object, JSON array. What is the field we have? Price, right? Price. And that is a decimal format. Price is in decimal format. So first of all, let's specify the price. Get a JSON object of So here it is books. And here it is price. Right? So price we are capturing. So again, here we should use only toString, okay, because we don't have other methods here. So like we don't have a two double or two integer. We can't convert this object directly into integer or double or another format. So what we have to do is we have to first convert that into string format. Later we will convert, because if it is a string format, we can easily convert that into double or integer format. But if it is in an object format, we cannot convert. If it is a get will return object format of the value. So if it is an object format, we cannot convert into number or double or string. But if it is a string format, we can easily convert into number format. So you can just convert this into toString. So now we got the price of first book, right? Because I is equal to 0. So whichever the book is available in the first object in the JSON array, we got the price here. So what we have to do, we have to write one expression here. First, we will take one variable, total price. Initially, I'll assign 0. And now here we have to add this price to total price. So I can write expression like this. Total price equal to total price plus current price. Total price plus current price. So why we need this expression? Because every time whenever you get the price, that we have to add into the total price. And once this loop is repeated multiple times, so finally we will get the total price value into this variable. Okay, now it is giving an error. So why it is giving an error? Because the price is in string format and total price is in number format. So if you want to do arithmetic operations, both should be in the number format. Both should be in the number format. So what we have to do now, we have to convert this price into decimal format, number format, right? So let us do that. So how to convert string to number format, string to double format? We have a Java method by using wrapper class. So double dot parse double and then price. So this will convert price from string type to decimal. Double is representing a decimal. Then total price is anyway double, so it will add. So once this loop is repeated, finally the total price variable contains the total price that we have to compare. So if you want to print the total price, you can just print it. So total price of books is, here I'm printing total price. Okay, let's see how much total price it will return. Then we will put assertion later. Okay. So it is get passed. So this assertion for first validation. So this is actual total which is written. So now let me just put some assertion for that. So instead of printing, we do some assertion. Assert equals, and what is the total we are expecting? Okay, so here we have to say total price, and that should be equal to this one. This is a total price we are expecting. So this is another validation. So here we have done one validation. This is validation 1. This is a validation 2 in the JSON. So let's two assertion we kept. This is one assertion and this is another assertion on the same JSON response. Okay, now my test is got passed. So this is how we can do some additional validations on the response. If you go with this approach, the second approach which I told you, if we capture the response in this variable, then we will able to do these type of validations. Suppose if you go with the first approach, and if you just put some validations in the then method, you can't write conditional statements. You can't write looping statements. So that is a limitation which we have. So if you want to rigorously verify or validate your response, complex JSON type of response, better to capture the response into a variable. And then whatever you want to do on the JSON response, you can still do that. But here we have to take the help of JSON object. This is very, very important. So the entire response we have to convert into JSON object. By using this JSON object, we can traverse through multiple JSON arrays. You may have multiple JSON arrays. Still, you can specify the name of the array here that will go to JSON array. And length we can find out. And from this JSON array, again, if you have multiple objects, we can get it. JSON get object and get a title. So this is how we can capture the data, and then we can apply some more validations on the captured data. So here, no matter in whichever order the data is coming from the response, so it doesn't matter, because wherever the data is present, we can still able to validate. But only the problem here is, only one thing is, we can't validate the data which is dynamically changing. Every time, if you get the same book, then we can put some validation on that. Every time you are getting a different name of the book, you don't know what type of name you are getting, then it is very difficult to predict, right? So that is another problem. So you can search for the particular book is available in the JSON array, or particular author is available in the JSON response or not. You can validate such things, because those values we have to know before getting the response. Then we can apply some validations. Otherwise, we can't. So at least once manually, you have to execute these APIs so that you will know exactly what type of body we have to send, what type of response you will get, and what type of status code, headers, cookies you will get. So these information, you know, at least if you do manual testing at least once. And then we will use them as a parameters to perform automation testing. So once you automated these tests, you can run them multiple times. You don't need to do manually again. Okay. So this is called JSON, parsing JSON, how we can parse the JSON response. So this keyword is very important. Parsing is nothing but what? We can traverse through the JSON response to get required fields or required data from the JSON. That's called parsing. Parsing of JSON response. An interview people may ask you a question, how to parse a JSON data, or how to parse a JSON response data? By using JSON object class. By using JSON object class, we can parse the data. We can parse JSON data. Okay, remember this. And similarly, we can also parse XML response. Suppose if the response is in XML format, we can still parse it. And we can also do validations on the XML data. XML also, we can do it. Shall we continue or tomorrow? All right, so let us stop here. And then we will continue further.